Okay. So the final exam, today we'll review. There's 8 questions, 10 points each for a total of 80 points. You can take it Sunday in the morning or Monday or Tuesday during class or in the evening if you work. But everything has to be completed by Tuesday, the 8th at 11:59 p.m. I cannot take anything after that. Tests are graded. Everything that was turned in has been graded. The only thing that doesn't have zeros is chapter 5, my math lab. I'll put those in Sunday so that you can see if it's going to hurt your grade if you haven't done it. But it's an easy section, should do it. Those. The project is due. The finance project is due on Tuesday night, 11:59 p.m. That can definitely drop your grade because it's a high percentage rate. You go under syllabus. So these are the grades. An A goes up to a 92, an A minus is 91 to 90, and so on. And here's the weights. Homework is 15% of your grade. Projects are 25%. Attendance is 5% and exams 30%. And the final is 25% of your grade. And you have to take the final to pass the class. So these are how the course is weighted. And then this first link I made, what you need on the final to get the grades you want. You just plug in. So if you wanted at least an A minus or a 90, you could put that here. And then whatever your current grade is and calculate this, it'll tell you what you need out of 80 points for the grade you want. So if you wanted, oops, I hit the wrong. There we go. If you wanted a 90, and maybe you have a 93. You could plug this in and it will tell you what you need. Oops, I'm gonna turn it on. So you need a 65 out of 80. If you want the percent, don't multiply by the 80. You need an 81%. So if you multiply by the 80, it will give you how many points you need. If you don't multiply by the 80, it's going to give you the decimal. Multiply by 100 to get the percent. So depending on which way you want to look at it, but I like the points. I need a 65 out of 80, 81%. Any questions on that? if you're trying to figure it out and you have a question, let me know. But you do have to take the final to pass the class. Even if you only need, or even if you probably, if we did a 70 for a C, you probably, well, I probably still need something. Let's see. You need a point. Any questions? Okay. If you cannot make it at these times, please get with me as soon as possible so we can find another time so that everything is done by 11:59 on PM on Tuesday. Any questions? Okay. On As You Learn, there's a link for this, the review for the final under week 5. And the problems are similar to this. There's 8 questions. 10 points each. 80 points. Those figures show that the demand for a function is 60p plus Q equals 260, where P is the profit from selling Q magnolia plants, and the supply is 80. P minus Q equals 90. Find the equilibrium point. Remember, equilibrium point is where demand and supply are equal. So if we take these two, you could use elimination. You could use substitution. But the way this one is set up, elimination is nice because you add down and notice the Q's fall out. Any questions? So when I added down, the Q's dropped out. I could solve for P. This is the price per plant. This P is price or profit. I guess it's profit. And Q is the number of plants. To find the number of plants, you plug it into either equation to find Q. I'll use this one because Q is positive. 60 times 2.5 plus Q equals 260. Subtract the 150. You do need to find both values because it wants the equilibrium point. If you write it as a point, that's fine also. Q and then P. Any questions? A cost to transport a mobile home depends on the distance in miles. One firm charges are shown in the graph below. Answer the questions that follow. So this is cost per mile, and this is number of miles. Where's the function discontinuous? Where you're finding where it's discontinuous, trace, and anywhere there's a jump or an open circle, it's discontinuous, and you use your X values. So if I'm tracing this, there's a jump here at 150. And then there's tracing a jump here at 400. Any questions? Finding the limit. The limit as X approaches 150. This plus sign means from the right. Or a little bit larger. So we go to 150, go a little larger and see where the line is. It's this one. And it's at 3. This one is from the left. And the minus means a little bit smaller. So if we go 150 and go to the left, we're at this line up here, and the point is going to 4. These two are not equal, so this one does not exist. And it won't, well, no, it could exist if they came into the same. It could be discontinuous, but exist. In this one, it doesn't, because the points are not coming in at the same value. Same thing here. F of 150 is the shaded point. So at 150, my shaded point, this one's an open circle, but this one's shaded in, so it's 4. If both were open circles, then it would not exist. Any questions on that? We'll do the 400 also, but I want to do this part of the question since it still deals with the 150. A customer needs to move a mobile home 150 miles. How much will this cost them, and how can they save money? So if they're going 150 miles, the cost is the shaded in circle, so $4 a mile. So it will cost $600 if they go 150 miles. Notice though, if they go a little bit more than 150, it's $3 because the cost drops. So then these ones are at a lower rate. It's only $3. This is even lower. But if we went 151 miles, a little bit more than 150, that's where the price drops. I'm only paying $3. So if I drive one more mile around the block, I will only have to pay $453. So it will save me money. $147. So if they drove one more mile, it would only cost $453. Savings of 600 minus the 453 is 147. So they'd save $147. Any questions on that? Any questions on the limits? Just to make sure, let's find the limit as x approaches, where was it, 400 from the right. Limit as x approaches 400 from the left. And f of when you found all four, type the first one in so then I know that you're getting them done. I want to give you enough time to make sure you understand it. Okay. Only two people have answered. The rest of you do you understand and don't want to type it in, or just put a thumbs up or type got it. So for the first one, you should have gotten 2.5. Because we're looking where 400 is. Know what you could also do? So that it's easier to see the right and the left. This plus sign is from the right. So we go to 400, go to the right, and here's my line. 2.5. The next one is from the left. From the left is on this side of the line. My line is here at 3. Now you want to look at the point because the line doesn't have to be horizontal. It could be coming down. So always go to the point that's on your dotted line. Okay, how about the limit as x approaches 400? There we go. Does not exist because these two are not equal. If they were equal, all three would be the same answer. Let's almost put a 3. Does not exist. And the last one. Oh, I got a couple different answers. Three or 2.5. You're looking for the shaded in point. This one's the shaded in point. So the 2.5, that's an open circle. You want to go with the shaded point. So it'll be 3. Any questions on that? Okay. Is everyone good with limits? Number 3. The total cost in dollars for manufacturing X App State shirts is C of X equals 11,000 plus 3X. Find the average cost function. How do you find the average cost function? Divide by X. Yep. Because this is a polynomial, we just divide by X. So that's your average cost function. How do we find what is the limit as X approaches infinity for the average cost function? Anyone? Well, we look at the degree of the top and the bottom. Anytime you take limits to infinity, look at the degree. The degree on the top, that's your largest exponent. Well, it's a 1. The degree on the bottom is also a 1. When the top and bottom are the same, reduce the 2 largest degree terms. So the limit's 3. Any questions on that? Interpret means explain what it means. X is getting large. What is X? X is the number of App State shirts. So as many App State shirts are produced, the cost will be $3, and this was average, so $3 per shirt. Any questions on that? Remember, you can have a formula sheet and you can have your notes throughout. Any questions?
So you said notes without what?
You can have your notes and you can have formula sheet out during the test.
Thank you.
Because I cannot tell if someone is, so I don't want to tell you not to, and then someone else does. So that way, everyone can. I just want to make sure that you understand the process. Even if you're looking at your notes, you still have to go through. And I mean, I still have low, most of the grades are high, but I still have low grades. So I'm not worried. The demand price for beer is given by this, and this is our price, where P is the price in dollars and X is cases of beer. Find the revenue function. So go ahead and find revenue. So revenue is price times quantity. My price, 104 minus 2x. Quantity is X cases of beer. I'm going to distribute the X. So this would be your revenue. Now, either one of these would have been fine, but I need to find maximum revenue, so I'm going to take the derivative. That's why I distributed it. To find maximum revenue, how many cases of beer you need, and the price, we need to find the critical number. So you have to take the derivative and set it equal to 0. This is x to the first. 1 times 104 is 104. X to the 0 drops. 2 times a negative 2 is a negative 4x to the first. Take the derivative, set it equal to 0. So I found a number 26. Well, I got to decide where it goes. It's X. If I go back up here, X is cases of beer. 26 cases of beer. 26 cases of beer will give me a maximum revenue. Anything more or less, it will be less. Any questions on that part? So whenever you're unsure, see what variable's there. This is X. X is cases of beer, so that's where it goes. To find revenue, use your revenue equation. Revenue is in dollars because price was in dollars. Revenue is $1,352. 13. Any questions so far? To find the price, use the price equation. So we'll sell them for $52 a case. We'll sell 26 cases and we'll get a revenue of $1,352. Any questions on that? Any questions? Go ahead and try the production level. Now, if you're unsure or forget, how in the world do I find the production level? The words help you here. Like minimum average cost. Minimum average cost means I need my average cost function. So the production level is the critical number from the average cost. X cubed plus 48x plus 1024 over x. So we need our average cost function to find our production level. By taking the derivative and setting it equal to 0, we found the production level. Our critical numbers are our production level. So the formula, bottom times the derivative of the top minus the top times the derivative of the bottom all over the bottom squared. Go ahead and take the derivative. First, or I mean bottom is x times the derivative of the top. This would be 3x squared. This is a 1 times 48 is 48x to the 0 drops, and this goes to 0. So we have 3x squared plus 48 minus the top. And make sure you're subtracting the whole top. You need parentheses. Times the derivative of the bottom. Derivative of x is just 1. Because this is a 1, so 1 x to the 0 falls and just leaves the 1. I'm gonna distribute my X. And my -1. We do need to combine like terms, but I am also going to get rid of the denominator. When you're setting it equal to 0, you could just set the top equal to 0, because if we multiply both sides by the denominator, these will cancel, and this is just 0. 3x cubed minus x cubed is 2x cubed. The 48x's cancel. So my x squared's canceled. 3x cubed minus x cubed gave me the 2x cubed. The 48x minus 48 cancels, and then the minus 1024 equals 0 times x squared is 0. Any questions on that? Bring the 1024 to the other side. Divide by 2. Any questions so far? To get rid of the cube, you can take the cubed root if your calculator has it, or you can just take it to the 1/3 power. Because an exponent to an exponent is multiplied, 3/3 is 1. So this is just x. And this is 8. Any questions on that? If
I
we
guess
go
I still
back
don't
and look at our
understand
question,
denominator for that. It's like, why did you bring the x squared up top?
this one here,
Is it just to cancel, just to get rid of it?
right, right. I had this and I set it equal to 0 to
Yeah.
find my critical number. And then I wanted to get rid of the denominator, so I multiplied it. As long as you do it to both sides, it keeps your equation equal.
Okay. Let's do it both sides.
Yeah, and you can always do that because your denominator cannot be 0, so it's okay to do that. And this gives us our production level. What are we producing? Just a product. Any questions on that? Now you could have just set the top equal to 0 because the bottom can never equal 0, but the steps would be multiply. Add the 1024, divide by 2. Here I did a cubed root. Remember, cubed root would be the 3 in the denominator of your exponent, or so 1/3. But you're just doing the reciprocal of your exponent. That's how you eliminate it. This gives you your production level. This is how many you need to produce to have the minimum average cost. They want us to find the production level that will produce the minimum average cost and the minimum average cost. Why is the production level important? Okay, so we found the production level. To find minimum average cost, use your average cost function. Rule of thumb, go to where your derivative is and use the one before it. Here's my derivative. This is the one before it. It's average cost. So you want to plug into this. You don't want minimum cost. You want minimum average cost. So it's this one. And you plug your production level in. So we'd have 8 cubed plus 48 times 8 plus 1024 all divided by 8. You're getting 240. Any questions? No, if you plugged in 7 or you plugged in 9, you're going to get values higher than this. This is the minimum average cost, $240 per product. Any questions on that? I wanted to type the formula, but I forgot to get out of the exponent. Hold on one second. X to the third plus 48x. There we go. It's 1024. Okay, so I put the equation under y equals. You can also put this in Desmos. But I just wanted to show you. Let me delete these. Our production level was 8. If we go smaller, say 7, we have 243. When we went 8, it was 241. If we go 9, it's 242. So the lowest was 241. Or 240, sorry, that's a 0. Any questions on that? Now it also asks what the production level, why is it important? The production level gives the amount of product that should be produced to receive the lowest cost per item. So it tells you how many you should produce at a time. If you need 10 items, you should produce 8 and then 8 more, because you'll save money. You'll have some extra that eventually you're going to sell anyways. But it's cheaper to do it that way. So they're telling you have to produce 8 at a time. And they find this with a lot of companies because they'll say you can get this many at a time because this is what it saves us. Any questions on that? No. Okay, so those were from previous exams, and then there's 3 from chapter 5. Number 1, the interest for a loan is 6.5%. Find the effective rate for each compounding, round to the 100th. So compounding quarterly and then compounding continuously, and I gave you the formula. Compounded quarterly, 1 plus point, remember to put this as a decimal, divided by 100. Quarterly is 4 to the 4th. Minus 1. Okay, so we get this. But notice this is a decimal. We want to round to the 100th, but you want the percent. 6 point and then 2 decimal places, because 100th is 2 decimal places. I might have even went 3 decimal places, but just see what it says. 10th, 100th, 1000th. It said 100th, so it's here. 6.66%. So the effective rate or annual percentage yield continuously Now your answer should be close to 6.5. If you're getting something that's not close to that, you're doing something wrong. With this one, 6.66, this one, moving it over 2, rounding to the 100th, 6.72%. So they should be close to, but greater than the 6.5. Whatever your percent is, they should be a little bit larger. So this one is the better one, 6.5% compounded continuously. What does the effective rate and remember, it's also APY when you're doing problems on my math lab. I put both on the final so that you wouldn't get confused, but annual percentage yield is effective rate. You'll see that a lot buying a house. They give you the APY. What does the effective rate tell you? The effective rate is telling you a compounded amount, what it would be yearly. So it's giving you the annual rate. Any questions on that? The annual rate helps you compare. If we had 3.6% compounded monthly or 3.5% compounded continuously, we don't know which rate is better. Now here we knew because it stayed with the same percent. Continuous is definitely going to get a higher rate. But when they're different, then you can't really compare them. And by finding the annual percentage yield, then you can compare them. So let's see which rate is higher. This one's monthly. 1 plus 0.036, compounding 12. That's I'm not sure how far apart they'll be, so we'll go 3 decimal places. That's a 9. So if we make this a percent, and then we're rounding 3 decimal places, 1, 2, 3. So this 9 rounds that up. It's actually 3.660. If you need to round to a decimal place and it's a 0, put the 0 so I know you rounded properly. The 3.5% compounded continuously. Okay. So this is actually the better rate. Any questions on that? Even though this is compounded monthly and this is compounded continuously, you would have thought this would have been better, but this is better. Any questions on that? Number 2. If you have 5,100 and put it into an account at 4.2% compounded continuously, how long will it take to double your money? Does the amount you put in the account matter, or will it always be the same amount of time to double? Compounding continuously, A equals P e to the RT. Now we're starting with 5,100. And interest rate 0.042 written as a decimal. We're looking for T. That means we need to know what A is. Well, they didn't give us it, but they told us we were going to double our money. Well, double. If we take 5,100 and double it or multiply by 2, we get 10,200. Any questions on setting it up? Any questions on that part? To get rid of E, take the natural log. Now you could just write it there, but I'm writing it in the next step so we can follow easier. Oops, that's a T. Okay. This cancels. Natural log and E are inverses, so that just leaves the exponent. You can think of it as canceling. And then divide by that decimal. I'm going to round to the 10th. 16.5 years. Any questions on that? We'll go back, double check that we answered everything. How long will it take to double? 16.5 years. Does the amount you put in the account matter, or will it always be the same amount of time to double? Well, from problems we've done before, we put anything in there because whatever you put here, it's double here. So when you divide by it, you're going to get this. So it does not matter how much you start with. It's always going to double. So then you will always end up with this equation. Now the rate matters, but how much money does not matter. It will still take the same amount of time to double, no matter what amount you start with. Any questions on that? Does not matter how much you start with. Will take the same amount of time to double. Any questions on that? Any questions? Okay. Number 3. If Jack puts 300 in a simple interest rate at 8% for 5 years, this is Jack, and Jill puts 300 in an account at 8% compounding annually for 5 years. How much will each have at the end of the 5 years, and why are they not equal? So Jack is simple interest. So let's find out how much Jack has in the account at the end of 5 years. Okay, so it's asking how much you'll have at the end of 5 years, which tells me the total amount, not really the interest. I got 420. But if you find the interest, that's fine also. So 420 is the total amount in the account. Still is putting 300, but it's a compounded amount. And it was compounded annually. So M is 1. And Jill has $440.80. Why does she have more? Why are they not equal? Remember, simple interest makes interest only on the $300. Each time you're making interest on the 300. Where this one, each year you're making interest off of the 300 plus the interest you made the year before. So this is making interest off of the interest also, where this only makes interest off of P. So the principal interest, you're only making interest on the $300. Whereas this one, you're making interest on your interest. Any questions on that? Positive. No questions? Several students have already done the finance project, which is great. Is there any questions on the finance project? It is not a discussion board, only the one was. So you turn it in just like you do your exams. Any questions? Go to grade book, see what your grade is, and see if you need to bring it up, what you haven't completed. Almost everybody is passing, so there's only a couple. If you have not done the first project, it's 75 points, and I recommend getting it done. It could drop you, it could drop you 2 to 3 letter grades because of the rate it's in. Getting a 0 in that can drop you a lot. I think it's 25% of your grade. So that if you have a 0 there, it's going to drop a lot. Any questions on anything? So both projects, and my math labs, you can keep doing those in the, I think was 1 or 2 homework assignments. If you haven't done them, get them done. Get all the points you can. Any questions?